Thank you.
All right, welcome to the Board of Selectmen meeting for Monday, August 24th, 2015. Mr. Clerk, would you do the honors of leading us in the pledge, please?
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, so tonight's agenda, 6:30, we are going into executive session for collective bargaining strategy. At 7 o'clock, organization, oh, well, we kind of jumped the gun there. We pledge, we read mail, 7:05. Input updates, public and members, 7:10. Town board appointments, we have a public hearing for the Cooper property on 7:30. 8 o'clock is a public hearing on a license for Moe's Southwest down at the Point. 8:15, town administrator, assistant town administrator borrowing, staffing vacancy review, call special town meeting for November 2nd, and selectmen's meeting schedule, other business, consent agenda. That being said, I'd look for a motion for the executive session.
So moved. Can I do that?
Okay, move that the Board of Selectmen vote pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, subsection 21A, Clause 3, to go into executive session to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining with the town's police union, since an open meeting may have detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the board, and to convene an open session thereafter.
Been moved and seconded. Mr. Knox? Aye. Ms. Hebert?
Aye.
Mr. Curry, aye. Mr. Avello?
Aye.
Mr. DeCoste?
Aye.
We are now in executive session.
Paul, it's Joe Frawley. He's the District 3 engineer.
Okay, welcome back to the Board of Selectmen meeting for Monday, August 24th. We're just coming out of executive session for collective bargaining strategies. Next on the agenda is Reed Mail, Mr. Bergman.
Mr. Chairman, just a few items. First is that we have received approval from the Attorney General for 2 bylaws that were passed at our May 2015 annual town meeting. One was a zoning amendment dealing with non-conforming structures. The other was a town bylaw amendment adopting the stretch energy code. So we received notice that the Attorney General has approved those bylaws, so they are in effect. Next, we received a certification from the Department of Revenue approving Littleton's free cash figures for this year as of July 1, 2015. And we were not the first, but we were very close. We were in the first group, the first dozen or so communities statewide to have their free cash certified. And that really speaks to how, in what good shape our finances are, and our finance department is to be able to get the information into the state where they can approve free cash figures. It's 7.799 million in the general fund, 549,000 in the water recreation fund, and 152,000 in the Park and Rec Enterprise Fund. So it's good to see that they're all positive numbers, that there are fund balances in all 3. And we'll be meeting with the Finance Committee at our next regular meeting on September 14th to do some budget planning where we can begin to talk about what these figures and the rest of our picture looks like for the coming fiscal year.
Great job, finance team.
Nice job.
And we also, another nice job from staff was that at Bonnie's suggestion, the fire department submitted an application to our insurer, the Mass Interlocal Insurance Association, to apply for a $10,000 loss control grant, and we were awarded that grant, which will be used towards updating the town's hazard mitigation plan. That plan was prepared for us under yet another grant 5 years ago by MAPC. The document needs to be updated every 5 years. Ours expires next April, so we'll be working between now and then to update that document using these grant funds.
That's great.
And also, and I'm not sure what
Keith, before we get on, I see Chief back there. Chief, so are you ready, and have you been through this process to update this plan, or?
I have not, and as Keith was saying, MAPC is going to, they're going to run with that.
Okay,
they held our hand through it the last time.
okay, all right.
And they will do that again.
Very good.
this time.
All right, sorry, go ahead, Keith.
And last item to mention, and we don't quite yet know what dollar figures will be attached to it in terms of technical assistance from the state, but the state is announcing that our community compact application is being approved. We had submitted for 3 best practices, so-called. One is a joint application with our fellow Crosstown Connect towns of Acton, Boxborough, Maynard, and Westford. And then we also submitted 2 Littleton-only projects, one for updating, one for developing, rather, a economic development marketing plan, and the other for development of a public safety, police and fire strategic plan. All 3 of our application components are going to be approved, and there is an official signing ceremony that the Lieutenant Governor is in the process of scheduling. We've been invited to be the host for that event, even though it will include 5 towns. And currently, we're looking at a week from Thursday, September 3rd, is the date that's been offered for that event. So we're still finalizing the arrangements, but we're happy to see it moving forward, and we'll get more specifics about what technical assistance is going along with that.
Is that typically a daytime or evening type of?
It's in afternoon.
Okay, thank you.
And I know we polled the board prior. Mr. Knox and myself will be on vacation in Maine, but the vice chair will be around, so fantastic. I know Mr. Avella, and I don't know, we haven't heard from Mr. DeCoste.
On the bubble.
He's on the bubble. So we have two great representatives of our board to be there, so that's a very exciting thing to have the Lieutenant Governor come to our police station.
Thank you.
All right, so 7:05, we're supposed to get into public input, so I'm going to put that off for now. We'll move on to town appointments. This is for the Agricultural Commission. Well, I'm sorry, now we have more than that. The first one is the Agricultural Commission, then we have the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, and then we have the Cultural Council. I got a call from the chair of the Agricultural Commission today, asking that if this board didn't mind, the AgCom has not had an opportunity to review these two applicants, and asked that we refer them to the AgCom so that they can take a look at them and interview. I have no problem with that, and I've just polled the board, see if anybody wants to say yes or no to that.
Makes sense.
It's all good? All right, so Keith, you can refer those AdCom applications to the Ad Commission, and we can wait for their recommendations. The Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, we have two members for indefinite terms. Love that. One is Jerry Cavallo. Is Jerry here? No? Board members, you want to move forward? I mean, there's two positions, one applicant.
Do we get any recommendations?
From the Bicycle Committee, I don't believe we have.
Nothing, Keith?
I don't have a problem making an appointment either.
He certainly obviously has experience, rides the bike to the train every day, so that's,
Yes,
Not for me.
Yeah, he's on
That's for me.
the Aquarius
Spelled bike, right?
that's good.
All right, so that being said, I'd look for a motion.
Make a motion to appoint Jerry Cavallo to the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee for an indefinite term.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so now we have the Cultural Council for a term expiring
June 30th,
on
2000.
June 30, 2018? 17, sorry. And we have one vacancy with two applicants. Is Michael here? Hi, Michael. Is Madeline here? These were actually,
I think we have three,
oh, she is.
we do have,
What'd you say, you had three
yeah, there are multiple
vacancies?
vacancies. Yeah, so there are more than two vacancies.
Oh, there are. Okay.
So it's four.
There are
Four in
four.
total?
So, Michael, if you want to come up and just introduce yourself to the board, we'd love to talk to you.
Michael Carney. I've been on the Cultural Council for, frankly, I don't recall when I was first on. This is my, I'll be concluding at the end of this year, my second term, or second appointment, second term of my second appointment, let's put it that way, which is to say that I've been on the board for soon to be 12 years, with an intervening year and another year, so 13 years total. And the interesting thing of this year has actually been correcting the roster, frankly. Got a bit out of sync, and at this point, I think you'll probably see one more application
Gotcha.
of someone that is already on the board that we are going to, well, it's actually going to be resubmitted for next year. So otherwise, there's not much to report. Things are moving okay, and it's really great to be working with Jennifer and Diane to straighten all that stuff out.
Fantastic. Board members, questions?
Other than saying thank you.
I'd agree. Yep, thank you.
Paul?
Sure, thank you. Because I think maybe a lot of folks in town don't know quite all what the Cultural Council may do. Sometimes in the background, certainly at some events, folks are out there. Would you mind just a real short primer?
Sure. It's, we're the local representatives of the Mass Cultural Council. You guys appoint us. We're largely appointed by word of mouth. Mostly people on the board ask other people who might be interested in. But annually, in about a month's time, we get a pile of applications that are directly to us for grants for arts projects that we are also allotted a certain amount of money from the Mass Cultural Council to grant that money out of. And we, because of the size of the town, we're no Worcester, Needle or Boston, we get a fairly small budget, which is, for our size, actually more than what you would get for a town the size of Boston because of the lower limit. At any rate, we vote. I just want to point out some of the organizations that we often fund. We often do things with the library. We do the box lunch at Indian Hill. We do a lot of things with cultural COA. And then miscellaneous events, preferentially to events in Littleton, sometimes to adjacent towns. Notably, Fruitlands is one. Fitchburg has have asked for a very small amount of money, but they have an event that is attractive to a lot of people that we know that just from the feedback we get that it's well attended, even though it's far away. So it's that sort of thing. Does that answer your question?
Definitely. Thank you.
Absolutely. Mr. DeCose?
No, just anytime somebody is willing to give up some of their time and give back, we appreciate it. Thank you.
I concur. So that being said, I'd look for a motion for both applicants.
Move to appoint Michael Kearney and Madeline Finlay to the Cultural Council with a term expiring June 30th, 2018.
Second.
2018 or 17?
17.
17? You sure?
Yeah, I'm just 1 year.
You're just 1 year?
So,
Sorry, 17.
Madeline's for the 18th.
Okay, we'll do this then. Move to appoint Michael Kearney to the Cultural Council for a term expiring June 30th, 2017.
16.
16?
16.
Okay, I got this. Move to appoint Michael Kearney to the Cultural Council for a term expiring June 30th, 2016.
Cool.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much, and thanks for showing up. So we can
Thank
do
you.
Madeline?
Thanks, Michael.
She would be the 18th?
2018.
18, all right, got this. Move to appoint Madeline
She-
Finley
yeah, so she gets
to the Cultural Council for a term expiring June 30th, 2018.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. All right, so we got a couple public hearings tonight, one at 7:30 and one at 8 o'clock. That being said, we're a little ahead of time at 7:05. So can we move into the bond anticipation note, 7A? Bonnie? Oh, good point. So before we get into that, Mr. Avella graciously pointed out that we have 7:05, public input and members update. So we'll jump right back to you, Bonnie, after that.
Can I have 1 minute?
Sure thing.
Want to introduce you to the newest member of your department.
Oh, Fido. He doesn't bite you.
Yeah, well,
Bring it away.
nothing can be said.
Get off the leash.
Were we supposed to follow?
No, you can bring it in.
Go ahead.
Congratulations. Fortuitous.
Let's go, Jack. They're out of training and on patrol, and he goes back to school in January for drug detection. He's certified as a...
Can you bring him up here?
and,
Brian, can you bring him up here so we can show him off? Good looking dog.
Great looking dog.
What's his name?
Bojack.
Bojack.
He's Warrior in Slovakia, where he's from. And they went to Boston Police Academy for their 14-week training. They graduated with high honors, at least the dog did. And they've been out on patrol for a couple of weeks now, so you'll see him around and about. We'll get him into the schools, for a lot of community policing projects, things like that. He's just a youngster. He's still, what's he, 18 months?
Yeah, he just turned 18 months.
Just turned 18 months old, and he's been a great addition so far.
Was he already leveraging that missing teen, or I don't know how old he was? But
You saw both Bojack and Patrolman Casey on several news channels for the missing teen over in Westford.
fantastic.
Nice.
Yeah. That's awesome. Thank you, guys. Thank you for bringing me in.
Do we get to ask him questions?
Yeah.
Want the dog?
Do we get to ask him questions?
You want to play with the? I think he wants to play with the ball. He doesn't want to. He doesn't want to talk about it.
A new member of the department, we don't even talk to him.
You want to talk to him, Mr. Knox? All right, sorry. So going back to public input. Yes, sir. Please stand and state your name.
Brian Tarbox, Slusher Lane, kind of a housekeeping comment with the open meeting law. Agendas are supposed to be clear and detailed enough so we can know what, whether it's interesting for us to show up to any particular meeting. All meetings interesting, of course. Tonight's being a particular example. It just listed that you were appointing positions. Didn't say which positions you're appointing. High marks to Keith for turning an email around back to me in about 45 seconds, I think. But it would be great if the agendas were a little bit more detailed. The second thing is meeting minutes. Your board is great with meeting minutes. Not all the boards are. CBA in particular hasn't posted minutes since January. So that's kind of a problem. The third thing is executive session minutes. As you know, once the specific reason for an executive session is over, those minutes have to be posted. Checking the website, I see 4 posted executive session minutes in the last 8 years, and I'm willing to bet that that the town as a whole has had more than that many executive sessions. So we're out of compliance, and it's just a question of getting to compliance. One of the reasons that this came to my attention was going to your meeting on Thursday, the joint meeting with the planning board. I was hearing about these other projects that CBA was looking at that may or may not be interrelated in various ways with the Cooper property, and I wanted to go back and look at their meetings, see if there were proper recusals and so on, and I couldn't tell. So I would ask if you guys would ask Keith to send a note to various department heads asking them to get back in compliance. Thank you.
Thank you. Talk to Mr. Bergman offline. Any other public input? Okay, seeing none. Members, Mr. Knox.
Mr. Chairman, I have 2 things I want to mention. The first thing is last Thursday night was the last third Thursday for this season. Once again, we had a very successful events, all 3 of them. I was the one that brought this topic up a long time ago, but the Park and Rec has run with it. They do a phenomenal job in taking care of things. I do want to point out a lot of benefit from it, besides just a get-together and a social event with food and whatever. For local businesses, it's a benefit too. A lot of businesses do it for different reasons, but through the Littleton Business Association, which I'm a member, and Paul Lavella is a member, they started doing some research on some of the results, and the one example we can use is Megan Ford with Hear Smart Audiology, and she can completely say that she has 19 customers that found out about her through Third Thursday. So for local businesses, it pays off too. So in the future, I just want to mention it's a great thing for small businesses to get into. The second thing, if I may, last week at my son-in-law and daughter's house, right behind the house, they were hit by lightning, and a fire broke out. And my granddaughter was home all by herself. And she was smart enough to make some phone calls to get the grandparents over to see what was going on. And there was a fire that was very close to the propane tank. And it was, I was excited about it. I got her out of there. But I just want to compliment the fire department. It was reassuring to hear within minutes that they were coming, because I was trying to run around with a hose that wouldn't even meet it. I wouldn't have done anything anyway, but I just want to say what a professional job they did to put it out, because we didn't know it, but when the lightning hit, it followed an invisible dog fence in the ground into the house, blew out part of a wall and some of the things. So we didn't even notice that because we were concentrating on the fire. They were the one that noticed that the trail went right to the house and popped out some of the siding on the back of the house. So once again, thank you.
Yeah, well done, Fire Department Chief.
Ms. Hebert?
Nothing for me, just glad to hear everyone's okay in that situation.
Scary. Mr. Avella?
Couple things, please. Master Plan Update Steering Committee will meet tomorrow evening in this room at 7 p.m. Certainly everybody's welcome to attend that. A little update as to where we are on the Steering Committee. Steering Committee appointed a subcommittee to come up with a request for qualifications, request for proposal. We're in a draft stage of that. We're staffing that through Bonnie and others here in Town Administration, to include Town Administrator Keith, and then also Town Council. And the ultimate goal is to actually have it out on the streets in time and then have an award for a professional to come in and help us out to update the master plan and have that awarded by January of 16. So certainly everybody's welcome to come out and see that process, because tomorrow evening we'll be discussing for the first time the full committee that requests for quotations / qualifications and proposal. So the other thing I'd like to ask, I've been in correspondence with Chief King, Police Department, about striping on Route 110 in the intersection through town from IBM on through Goldsmith or so, and actually it's the lack of striping. And we've been in contact with the Mass DOT for some time, and they haven't been able to get to it yet. It's a bit of a safety issue. I think all of us have seen it enough now, and the Chief could certainly iterate on that some more. But I'm asking that perhaps need to escalate this a little bit, and perhaps a letter from our chairman of the board to the District 3 manager requesting that Mass DOT actually get to that kind of quickly before anybody gets hurt at that intersection. Chief?
We've been in contact, I've been in contact with them since April. They told me in April they'd get to it in 4 weeks. 6 weeks later, they came and I saw the arrows actually appeared. And then since then, there's been rumors all of a sudden that it was going to get paved. As they paved the westward section of 110, but King Street got held up because of all the gas leaks. You saw the gas company was out there doing all that. There's now rumor that they're going to pave it in October, but we've been on them because we also were asking, where the signs were that said, left turn on blinking yellow, arrow, which the other side has. Originally, that wasn't engineered for the signs, I guess, is what the problem was. So they're out to engineering, but again, it's now. I think it's now 16 weeks later, and we still have no stripes.
Okay. And I'd be happy to participate with the chief and the town administrator in drafting a letter for your signature if the board thinks that's the right way to go.
Absolutely. I'd defer to Jim Clyde, because I think at one of our meetings he said that they were going to be paving from Westford all the way to 495, too.
They originally were supposed to, but now we're hearing October. I talked to Jimmy before he actually went on vacation. They have no firm, we've got no firm dates out of Mass DOT on when they're going to pave and if they're going to pave this year, actually. So, the stripes in the common need to get done either which way, because sometimes it gets very difficult to figure out.
I think it's a great idea, but I'd ask for a signature line for the chief also,
Your call, sir.
for a dual signature line, so that both of us can sign. I think it's a great idea. And it is very frustrating down there.
Yeah.
Mr. DeCoste?
The only thing I'll add is just continuing down King Street towards the high school is high school sports started today. So just ask that people be cautious. There's going to be kids coming in and out of the high school doing double sessions and whatnot, so just keep an eye out. There's going to be a lot more traffic coming in and out of the high school with a bunch of them going in and out of there and getting ready for the season. So school's almost back in session, so
Yep, that's for sure.
use caution.
Thank you very much. I really have no comment today. Looking forward to my vacation next week. Go ahead, Chief.
Just one other thing, per request of residents of Russell Street, Neshoba Road, some of the other areas, we've stepped up enforcement of the speeds, especially with the new pavement on Neshoba Road. Russell Street was, we met with the residents down there 2 weeks ago because of the speed issues on both ends of their street. I'm just asking everyone to be aware, school's opening in a week. Be aware of the school zones and all the different speeds up and down Goldsmith Street. We've been hitting them as hard as we can. I believe Deputy said we've had 43 separate radar assignments down on Russell Street just in the last 2.5 weeks alone, and I think I forget how many citations we've written down on Neshoba Road because it's definitely been problematic. So I'm just asking everyone to slow down, pay attention to what they're doing, and just remember there's going to be a lot of children out on the road come a week from now. So,
All right, very
Thank you.
good. All right, moving on. We got 50, you can do this in 15 minutes. All right, so we're going to jump ahead to 7A, a bond anticipation note.
Yes, we
Bonnie.
issued a note for road improvements and water betterment for $2.8 million. Just above that, we had two bidders. The low bid came in at .70, which was significant, so we are consistent.
And this is just a general bond.
Yes, this is inside the levy limit of our operating budget.
Board members, questions?
Bonnie, is there a fee associated with that in addition to the interest?
No,
So just interest?
no, once our bond rating came up, we
Great news.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Look for a motion.
Move that the Board of Selectmen vote to approve the sale of a $2.87 million general obligation municipal purpose bond anticipation note of the town at 0.7% dated September 3rd, 2015, and payable September 2nd, 2016 to Century Bank and Trust Company at par.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you very much. So, I think we got another 10 minutes, 12 minutes here. Why don't we go over the Selectmen's meeting schedule? 7D. Selectmen's meeting schedule, set meeting date through December of 2015. So we have Mondays.
Two meetings each month. You're right now scheduled to meet on the 14th and 28th of September, but I've asked that the board move up the 28th to the 21st so that we can deal with town meeting matters that night. I'll be away the whole week of the 28th.
When does the warrant close?
The warrant closes on the 18th. The warrant would close on the 18th of September. So
Okay.
the 21st would be the Monday following the closing of the warrant.
So just a housekeeping for any warrant issues that we may see.
On the 14th, that's scheduled to be a joint meeting with the Finance Committee and School Committee to talk about fiscal 2017 budgeting, which we haven't
That I
done yet.
cannot make, just so you know. I will be traveling on that one.
On the 14th, yeah.
Yeah, I'm on a state too.
Okay, that's the night that you'll be inserting all your warrant articles.
Yeah.
So we may have to reschedule that.
Oh,
meeting.
I'm sorry, I thought we were already in November, my bad.
Yeah,
September,
Okay.
yeah, sorry.
okay.
My bad.
I'm going to get all the really long articles, aren't I?
Are you okay with that?
That's fine.
Okay, all right. Then the special town meeting is November 2nd, which we haven't really set yet, right?
No, we'll be doing that any moment.
Yes. Any other issues, board members?
November 14 and 16, I am out of state.
Saturday, the 14th?
Yes, and Monday, the 16th, both those days.
Okay.
Oh, you're lucky.
Those are two big dates.
Those
Yeah.
those are
That's
the
the budget review
hearings.
and then the tax, the classification hearing,
Yeah.
so.
Well, can we, if we bump it out to the 21st?
Yeah, I'm going all through those 2 weeks.
Oh, you are, okay, all right. Board members, what do you think?
Leave it where it is.
Leave it where it is. Chuck? Okay.
I'm looking okay. As of right now.
Okay. December, any issues with the December dates, 7 and 15? The joint
Yeah, 7 and
meeting?
14 for regular, and then the
14th?
FinCom
Yeah,
wants a
sorry.
joint meeting on Tuesday, the 15th of December, with the school committee also.
Issues? I would look for a motion.
Move that the Board of Selectmen vote to schedule the following Board of Selectmen meetings for the dates indicated at 6:30 PM in room 103 Shattuck Street Building. Monday, September 14th and 21st, 2015 regular meetings. Monday, October 5th and 19th, 2015 regular meetings. Monday, November 2nd, 2015 special meeting at 6:30 PM prior to town meeting. Saturday, November 14th, 2015 joint budget meeting with FinCom at 9 AM at LPD headquarters. November 16th, whatever day that is, 2015 regular meeting, tax rate classification hearing. Monday, December 7th and 14th, 2015 regular meetings. Tuesday, December 15th, 2015 joint meeting with FinCom schools at 7 PM.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So we have the special town meeting. I think we should be able to get through this before 6:30 too.
Yeah.
Yes? No? We'll do minutes.
Sure. Yeah, minutes, I think would be safer.
Okay.
So we can get them up there right away for...
Yeah. Mr. Avella.
Move the Board of Selectmen approve meeting minutes from Monday, August 10th, 2014, 15, excuse me.
Second.
I moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
You also have another set for July 15th.
Move the Board of Selectmen, yeah, got the right one. Move the Board of Selectmen approve the special meeting minutes from preliminary 2016 goal setting exercise, Monday, July 15, 2015.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thanks, Keith.
All right. We got 5 minutes for, before our first public hearing, to reopen the Cooper property discussion.
Can we get the license done quickly enough?
We
have to do it at the hearing.
So we have staff and vacancy. I don't want to push that one. You know, the special comment. 6 minutes.
You can vote to call the town meeting, and then you can, there are 3 motions that are
Okay.
proposed. You can do the first motion,
Sure.
unless anyone's in any doubt that we will have a town meeting.
Okay, so let's go back to 7C, the special town meeting, and there's actually 3 motions tied to it. And the first one is to set the November 2nd date, which we approved our schedule previously, so it kind of makes sense to vote on that. I'll look for a motion.
Move that the Board of Selectmen vote pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 39, subsection 10, to call a special town meeting for Monday, November 2nd, 2015, at 7 PM in the Charles Forbes K Gymnasium, Littleton Middle School, 55 Russell Street, with the warrant therefore to open forthwith and close on Friday, September 18th, 2015, at noon.
Second.
I move the second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. Actually, the third motion, too, is a invitation to some of the other boards, so...
Yeah, there are a number of matters in the warrant, in the proposed warrant, which I think would be well for you to meet with those who are requesting the articles, or with whom we should be consulting before you put the articles in the warrant. So we have a list of town boards that we would like to invite into the meeting on September 14th.
Any problems with that, board members? I would look for a motion.
Move that the Board of Selectmen vote to invite the following boards to meet on Monday, September 14th, 2015, to discuss potential town meeting articles. Personnel Board, LCTV Advisory Committee, Conservation Commission, Council on Aging, Finance Committee, Community Preservation Committee, Water Commissioners, Board of Health, and Planning Board.
Second.
I moved and seconded to invite all those committees and boards to our meeting on the 14th. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. All right, that took about 2 minutes. So we have 4 minutes before we open the hearing back up for the Cooper property. If you'd like, Mr. DeCoste, have at it. This will be our third meeting public hearing for the Cooper Farm property. That has been continued the previous two. The hearing is for the seller's request to waive the first right of refusal on the bona fide offer that's before us at this point under the law and the plans that we've all seen in the previous two. So that's what we're going to be voting on tonight and discussing tonight.
Excuse me, can you clarify? Be hearing comments and voting on that?
Yes. And we have another 3 minutes.
He's trying to think of a joke.
Yeah.
Working on it.
How about the pizza?
Yeah, that's not time yet, actually. It's another-
Sure. Love to sign stuff. Yes, we could have gone into recess, but for 2 minutes. Town council advises against that.
Nothing good happens in a 2-minute recess.
The last 2 minutes.
Take 2 hours to pick up the pieces from the...
Back, I'm sorry. We're good like that. We hope they don't share. So.
Excuse me, Mr. Carr, since you got a minute? I'm just looking at the agenda, and it actually says just public hearing continued. I don't see anything where it says that tonight would be the vote.
We have an option to vote on it at any time during the public hearing.
Okay, I'm just saying that's the sort of thing that citizens would typically be interested in.
Particularly if you said it was going to be in
It
September.
is now 7:30. We are going to reconvene in the public hearing for Cooper Farm property. I'll defer to the applicants for any updates.
Mr. Carr, the Coopers have asked me to request that they withdraw their request to have you waive the right of first refusal. The board has vetted this problem 2 months in a row now, and the Coopers are satisfied that they don't want to put it to a vote. They're going to withdraw their request that you waive the right of first refusal.
Okay. Thank you.
So would you repeat that for those who couldn't hear, please?
They are withdrawing the request for a waiver of the first right of refusal for the offer in the property that we have before us.
Thank you.
So before we get into any discussion, I'd like to ask town council to explain to him, because I've got a lot of comments of it, what we would have been voting on tonight for a yes vote and a no vote. Kind of just giving a background, please.
Sure. So, we did receive an offer, or we received a notice with a purchase and sale agreement and a request that we waive our right of first refusal. My office determined that it wasn't a bona fide offer. And what I mean by that is the statute allows or requires that an offer not be contingent on something happening. In this case, receipt of a special permit. So we sent a notice saying it's not a bona fide. purchase and sale agreement. We then had a few meetings with the Cooper's attorney, Sherry Gould, and determined that it was probably in everyone's best interest to proceed with this hearing process anyways, so that the board could get a read on how the town felt about the property, and it also left open the option of the Coopers submitting a new purchase and sale agreement. So we've had the hearing, we've been through the process, so now you're at the point where she's asking that you withdraw. So I think it's the board's choice. I think you can finish the process and still vote. I think you can accept the waiver and not vote. So I think it comes down to a political question now for you. Do you want to proceed with this process and kind of send a message that you would like, that you're not interested in waiving your right of first refusal and continuing on with an attempt to purchase the property, or do you want to stop the process? So I think that's kind of the vote you have before you.
Just for clarification point, a vote, if the board does decide to take it, really is non-binding at this point. If the
Right, you technically don't have an offer before you.
correct. So, and secondly, if the board decided to vote on what we have before us and said, no, we're not going to waive it, that doesn't mean they can't come back to us and with a bona fide offer and ask to waive again.
They're always entitled to present, as long as their land is in the Chapter 61 program, they're always entitled to come to you with a bona fide offer and a request that this board waive the town's right of first refusal.
Okay. All right. Very good. Board members, I'll leave it to your discussion. Questions, comments? If the board wants to take action, vote on the proposal that was just withdrawn, or accept that withdrawal and move on. What's the board's feeling?
I think it's got to prove us to take action on something. I mean, that's not before us.
I would agree with Mr. DeCoste. It's no longer in front of us, so if you did vote, I'd probably abstain because there's nothing there to vote for.
Mr. Ravello, any comment?
A specific question about waiver. I agree with both Joe and Chuck have said. It seems though the objective, and certainly a lot of it's been presented to us, certainly very well presented opinion of many folks in town, is the property remains very important. Acquiring it remains very important also for the folks in town. The fields coming forward with this put it to the forefront. The Coopers seem now that it's a piece of property that they intend to put up for sale. So perhaps from our perspective now is, does the town take an opportunity that this property may well indeed be for sale and pursue that as a town objective? So that's really the primary thing. The right of first refusal was more a case of, is it a tool that we wanted to use to pursue it if a valid offer was made? There is no valid offer now as we see it. Anything that was made has now been withdrawn, and we find ourselves in somewhat of a good opportunity in a way, is that the Coopers have indicated the property is for sale. So now I think the discussion starts beginning is to, rather than worrying about waiving or not waiving something that's not in front of us, do we want to pursue actually acquiring the property as a town? Becomes, I think, our next process, and that's the more important one, really. It's one that really demands attention. And perhaps the formation of the right group of people, and I've used that word before, and I've been challenged as what is the right group of people. But certainly it's folks from the Board of Selectmen. I think it'd be some folks from our Conservation Commission, at the very least, the CPC folks, to see where we put that team together and begin those sorts of discussions.
Okay. I think it's definitely an issue we need to agenda and talk about for sure.
Absolutely, just raising it.
Ms. Hebert?
I don't disagree. I mean, I think that my opinion really hasn't changed since last time. I think it's a wonderful proposal, but the overwhelming majority of the feedback is not to waive. So if that was before us, that's where I'd be at, but it's not, so.
Okay. I'll go along with the board not to take action on the motion, and go ahead and...
Could I just add one thing? So the information we have right now is that there is a purchase and sale agreement between the Fields and the Coopers. So I think any process that you're talking about would be to offer a backup position. So I think we have to acknowledge that as far as we know, there's a valid contract between the two parties. So we're looking as like a backup offer that if they don't consummate the deal, we can proceed with a backup offer and maybe a backup agreement.
I'd offer that we certainly be prepared, if that's the route we want to take as a town, rather than now just wait and be reactive. We have an opportunity to be proactive. Your suggestion on the agenda item, make an agenda item, I fully agree with 100%.
Yeah, I agree completely. I'm just kind of phrasing where we stand.
Roger.
Right, and I'll get right to you, Sherry. I think that, town council brings up a good point. The Fields have a contract. It wasn't a bona fide offer in the eyes of the law. So if they come back with that, then we start deliberations and the 120-day clock starts to click to make a decision.
And waiver or no waiver becomes
Correct.
substantive at that point.
Exactly.
Well, so I guess I would just add something to that. So yes, if they come back to you, you'll have this process again.
Yes.
If they don't come back to you, I think you can still send the message that the town's interested in buying the property
Sure.
if something were to happen to the deal between the Fields and the Coopers.
Okay, very good.
I
Yes,
just wanted
sir.
to comment too that the Coopers have not resubmitted the 61A for the next fiscal year, and my understanding is it's their intention not to.
Thank you. Board members, any other questions? I'm sorry, what was that, Keith?
I think town council could tell us what that means.
Yeah, there you go.
So that means, so that, remember, there's two ways to get out of the 61A program if you wanted to sell your land. One is to come to the town and ask that it waive its right of first refusal. The other is to withdraw from the 61A program, pay your rollback taxes, and wait a year. And then they can proceed without the town's
Input.
input, correct?
Okay. All right.
It would still be subject to the planning process.
Please, well, I'll open it up to the, public when we're done deliberating up front. Okay, so now we understand if that in fact happens, that's how it goes down. If it's pulled out of 61A, they buy the property, and then they go through the normal process of construction.
But
Go
we
ahead.
still have the opportunity to present the backup plan, as you call it.
If something were to
In that
happen to
process.
their offer.
Right. And if
And if the Coopers are interested. Right, so it's...
So once they have to actively withdraw from, so once they pay their back taxes, and the clock starts ticking on the 365 days,
Right.
both of those have to be realized in order to withdraw from 61A. So if something did happen and this deal didn't happen with the Fields, and they had paid the back taxes and were waiting the 365 days, we had a backup offer in, and the Fields deal didn't go through, decided not to proceed, whatever happened, our backup offer gets looked at. It doesn't matter at that point, I guess, does it? It's a moot point, whether or not it's in 61A.
Right. We can always buy it.
Right. Okay. I walked myself right through it, thank you.
Any other questions, board members, before I open it up?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
All right. I will now open it up to the public. Please state your name and address.
Mark Levine, 66 Hartwell Avenue. I like Paul's idea of getting a group together to take a look at all of this, but I wish you'd also include people from your citizens who would like an input in all of this.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Hello, George Sanders. I want to make a few comments here with regards to this deal. I believe that if the inheritance of Mr. Cooper estate wanted to have that property to remain as is today, I believe they would have came to the town and told the town that they want the town to have this property. They do not want it to be developed. They want it to stay as it is, to be open space, to preserve the house there, and we don't want the land developed. We want the town to have it, and we will work with you in terms of selling it to you. But that did not happen. The town got into the picture because apparently the inheritance want, and they have a vision for that property. The vision that they have is that they wanted somebody local here that would agree to comply with the do, the will, the must, and the shall that this family saw that they wanted to see this property develop into. So apparently the things that they asked of the local developer, they didn't go outside, they got someone in town, and that developer agreed to conditions, I don't know for sure, but they agreed to conditions there that are stated in the sale and purchase agreement there, and they felt comfortable with that, and they wanted to bring it to the town as a matter of saying that the Coopers wanted to see development take place, help people in this town with a certain category of putting houses in place, but yet instead they wanted to give the town something. They wanted to have it reserved for the future, and this developer agreed to those conditions, the way I see it, and wanted to come forth and ask the town, would you be willing to take the benefits that is here in this purchase and sale agreement to waive the first right of refusal here and let this be developed according to what the inheritance wanted to see. They have a vision for their property. And I see the vision that they have here is they wanted some development to take place with that property and not remain as a farm, because I believe if they wanted that, they would have came to the town and told the town that. Here under the 61A, they have a program that you get the opportunity as the town to, if the other person doesn't want it or back out or whatever the case is, they decide, okay, well, we'll let you buy it. But I find this not being a surprise of the withdrawal here tonight. I think that the time that's been spent in here, first of all, we don't have a bona fide offer in place. So you, the selectmen, can vote on it. We're in a position of limbo here. And what we are putting input in is honor the provision that you give us a public hearing to say what we think about the 61A. I believe that the good intention came forth when they came to the town and told the town about what they had. But it seemed the impression that they get is that the town was more inclined wanting to buy it out from under them, under the developer, and I see what's written in the purchase and sale agreement speaks different from that. They wanted to see the property developed. I believe that they was going to take it out of the 61A and have the freedom that the clock clicked down, and then they have the right to sell it. It's like anybody else's property, their own property. Sell it to whoever you want to. I think it's a sad day that this message goes out in this town, because I think there was some great benefits as to what the Cooper was trying to do for this town. And it may very well be. if they take it out and the clock goes down, they may still sell it to the developer. The developer still may come and say, we still want to do what Mr. Cooper had in mind of this property, and we still want to give this to you. But I think that's a long way around, and I think it's a sad day that there's a fight between here and the sellers, because I put in the public input. I talked about a committee. You brought up a point. I brought up a committee. The committee that I proposed was this: to have 2 selectmen on the committee, one being Mr. Knox. And why Mr. Knox? Because I think Mr. Knox is a fair-minded person. And whoever the board picked for the next. Why I say he's fair-minded? Because I think Joe will sit back and listen. During my time in dealing with him, I find him a very honorable and able-bodied. Then the next person I talked about was the town administrator. I think you got one of the finest town managers probably in the Commonwealth of the state of Massachusetts. He's always looked out for the people of this town. I've sit on boards with him. He's always thinking. He's quiet, but he's always thinking. And he always come up with good stuff. Then I said, we get 3 ordinary citizens, ones that listen, understand, be fair-minded. And I asked to be one of them. And then I said, the Cooper attorney and the foundation, if there was someone else to be there. And then I said, the developer, the Fields, along with his engineer. Set that board up. Let the people sit down, do what had to be done, bring a recommendation back to the select at a public hearing. And there's 2 sides. If you vote this way, this is what happened. If you don't vote, this is what happened. We already came to that conclusion as to what would happen. That's what I suggest to do. Why do I speak that way? I'm a thinker. I've been a contracting officer representative. I've been a contracting auditing officer. And I've been a contracting negotiator. And you get into these things, and I appreciate the time that this board has allowed me to speak, because it's something dear to my heart as a transplanter here in Littleton. It hurts me to see that you got local people here trying to do the right thing and trying to honor requests of a man that was well established in this community. And I thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Yes, sir.
Yeah, Jim Barrosano, 22 Deer Run Road. Vince Cooper was a good friend of mine. He lived with my in-laws at the time, the Cressens, and he lived in what he called the snake pit, which was the cellar of the house, after he accidentally burned down the old farmstead. Vin was a great guy, and I loved him dearly. And he was a great farmer, and he really believed in farming. He graduated from UMass Agricultural School before I was born. And he loved farming. I helped him pick apples and pick corn on his farm. The apple trees are still there. And I honestly feel that if Vin was standing here now, he would want that farm to remain. He would want it to stay in our community and be part of the community, like our apple orchard is. So when I think about Vint, I think about farming, I think about the work that he put into that farm, and I think that in his heart, he always wanted that farm to remain agriculture. And I asked the rest of the community and the hundreds of people who voted, gone online, and signed the petition to stand together and help the town to purchase that property, keep the agricultural heritage of our community, and carry on his dream as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Pause down, please, so we can hear everybody. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just want to second that. I was working on a...
Name, please.
John Mitchell is the Beaverbrook Road.
Thank you.
I was working on a book, actually, a land project, and I spent a lot of time with Nick Cooper talking about, the future of the town and that sort of thing. Other than the fact that he, rarely wore shoes, regaled me with stories from his snake pit, the one abiding thing that he mentioned over and over again was the land and his love of agriculture, just as he said, his love of agriculture and farming. I think it's almost an insult to his memory to see this land go anywhere but into agriculture.
Thank you.
Okay.
Anybody else? Yes, sir.
John Tully, 12 Berry Bush Road. And I too can remember Vince. He wasn't just a philanthropist, although he's given a lot of things to the town. But he was an active farmer, and he was one heck of an iconic figure in the town with his threadbare coveralls and work shirt. Was mentioned there. Never wearing shoes in the summer, going barefoot, even when he was on his tractor plowing the fields. But he was very interested. There was Attorney Gould and the fields had brought up the possibility of preserving the vista. I think what Vince would have liked would be to preserve the legacy of an active farming of that piece of land. While there's been some discussion here that if the town could put some money together with perhaps grants from some foundations and so on from the trust, but there would be some upfront cost to the town. But the long-term, in the long term, putting that money into permanent conservation and making it available to farmers as we've made the orchard available to a tenant who continues to operate is the something that would preserve the legacy, not just a vista. I can remember, I wasn't born in Littleton, but I came here because of characteristics in the town and the qualities of the town over almost 45 years ago, when there were active farms along 2A down in Acton. All of those, of course, have been replaced by strip malls and apartment buildings. But I think as a way of preserving our heritage for future generations living in this town, it behooves us to try and preserve this farmland and make it available to people who want to farm it.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Dustin Neal, Lakeshore Drive. I want to thank everybody in the room, particularly the gentleman in the back, for laying out the situation, but so many of you in the room that stood up and did sign our petition to voice the town's overwhelming majority voice that folks did want to see this land conserved if possible, but the petition was about mostly following the process, and what the gentleman in the back said that was probably the most important part of his message is that it got to this point because we didn't go through a pre-planned process that exists in lots of places, right? This is going to happen to us again in Littleton. It's going to happen in other places. So I offer, both printed and electronically, there's a playbook for this process that's put out by some conservation organizations. I'm glad to participate in that. We've got 360 individuals in town that have basically expressed interest in participating in that sort of process. Similarly, everything in this document advises select boards like you guys across the state to get a bona fide offer, use the 120 days to collect input, not to do this round and around kind of rodeo that we've done with the developers that are...
I'm going to just stop you there for a minute. This round and round rodeo.
Fine, we can't.
What I want to say is we gave the opportunity to, we had it may not have been a bona fide offer, but if we just said no, the townspeople wouldn't have heard anything. They wouldn't have known anything about the process itself.
I'm not suggesting we don't collect public input.
Well,
not at all.
okay, so this is not a rodeo. We take this serious. We want to make sure that the townspeople hear what's coming before this board at every time, and we want to hear your input. That's why we do this.
I take
So
back the
please,
rodeo comment.
no rodeo.
I wasn't at all trying to be disrespectful,
Thank
so
you.
my apologies.
I appreciate
What I
it.
meant is that we didn't follow a process that was in place before this happened. Instead, we kind of saw this situation and reacted probably with good intentions. I'm not doubting anybody's intentions, but we didn't follow a given process, which we have a roadmap for. So what I suggest is that we take this process. Part of it includes a policy for select boards like yourself to lay out what that process is, both so that developers and landowners know what's going to happen, how you guys are going to act, what the timelines are, as well as specific project plans. Most of the time, I'm told that that usually happens in conjunction with the Open Space Committee and so forth, so there's processes for this in place. Lastly, I'll just say that at the beginning of the process, we were told that an open space plan with benefit back to the town and certain amenities is something that the sellers of the land really wanted to do in conjunction with the town. Either that was lip service at that time, or they'd still be willing to do something along those lines.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Cox?
Yes, sir.
I'm assuming you're referencing the Mount Grace playbook as
Indeed.
a reference. I think each of us has done a lot of research, and I can't speak for everybody, but I'm pretty sure that we've each shared resources and we've each looked at that. Also, if you will look at, Mr. Tarbach said that there was very little in the way of past meeting minutes and that kind of thing. If you go back to 2012, there was an organization set up specifically having to do with the Cooper property. So there's a lot of homework and there's a lot of misinformation that comes out. I'm not looking for a rebuttal, I'm just trying to get some facts straight. There's a lot of folks that are very passionate about what we're here about. And we're all residents of the town. We all want what's best for the town. So, although you recanted your statement, it's offensive.
It's disrespectful.
And disrespectful. We have opened this up and allowed everybody to speak. Whether, I couldn't tell you what my colleagues are preferring if we were to move forward tonight, nor could they probably tell you how I would vote if we were to move forward tonight. But each one of us represents every single person in town. We're elected to this position. We volunteer. We volunteer at time. We spend time away from our families, but we all have the same objective. We're all looking for what's best for the town.
I appreciate that. I think the committee that was in place previously was an excellent idea, but it was too small in scope. That committee should sort of be brought back together and sort of tasked with managing a portfolio of Chapter 61 properties so that as each one comes up, you guys are better informed and prepared to deal through a specific process for that. And as I said before, I'm more than willing to help out with that. I think that committee at the time focused on one property that we were told wasn't for sale. Fine, but we can use that momentum to, create a process that can be used for more than just that one instance. Thank you for your time.
Anybody else? Yes, ma'am, I'll go out back and then I'll come back to you.
Okay, Jane Crisfield, middle name. We hear talk about what the Coopers want. We have never met the Coopers. The Cooper relatives are one's in Maine, one's in Florida. These are the trustees of the trust. And I think Cheryl Gould is still a trustee of the trust. I may be wrong, but that's what it looks like. So in a sense, we don't really know what these people want. Have they heard from us who are friends of Vint, who knew him, who loved that land? Have they heard from the people in the town? Now, if you have one of the trustees who is also representing the trust and represents the developer, where's the chicken and the egg? And I had asked when we had the meeting at Light and Water to the presenter, who was Ms. Gould, I said, have the relatives been offered or made known that there's another alternative here, which is that the town would buy the land? And the answer was, I can't answer that. I don't know if there's any way, I know there's a purchase and sale, and I don't know if there's any way we can jump over that and make our own offer. I don't really know what the legality of that is. But I really think we haven't given the relatives the relatives of Vin Cooper a chance to know what the townspeople would like, or some of us would like anyway.
Okay, thank you. I'm not going to take any questions. I have to open up a public hearing right now. We can suspend the public hearing and then wrap this up. Public hearing is, I'm going to read this. The sheet is back on here.
Do you need a motion to recess on this, or?
Yeah, we will, as soon as I open it up. The Board of Selectmen will conduct a public hearing on Monday, August 24th, 2015, at 8 p.m. in Room 103, Town Offices, Building 37, Shattuck Street, Littleton, Mass., to consider the application for a common particular license as requested by Daniel Costas, manager, on behalf of MDM Southwest, LCL, doing business as DBA Mo's Southwest, LLC, at the property located at 607 Constitution Ave, Littleton, Mass. 01460. The hours of operation will be Monday through Sunday, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. Comments thereon may be submitted in writing to the Selectmen/Town Administrator's Office, 37 Shattuck Street, Littleton, Mass., by no later than Friday, August 21st, or in person at the hearing. All interested parties are invited to attend. James Carr, Chairman. Go ahead.
Make a motion to suspend the public hearing on the common particular license for MDM Southwest, Mo's Southwest LLC to a point later in this evening.
Second. Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you. We'll get back to you, Mo's. Up front here.
Oh, yeah, I have a couple of, Linda Stein, New Estate Road. I have a couple of thoughts on a couple of things people said. I would like to know if the Coopers do they know, have they seen all the letters that have been written by the townsfolks? That's one question. And the newspaper articles. I think it's imperative that the trustees of the Cooper estate see these letters and the articles in newspapers. Can anyone answer that question?
I can say point taken. I think, as the Mr. Ravello said, we're going to agenda this item, and we will make those contacts, I'm sure.
So, okay, that's a follow-up question I had. Will some town officials, the Board of Selectmen, somebody, be contacting the Coopers directly, the trustees directly?
Yes.
Okay. And share with them all this information?
We're going to try and do that, yes.
Great.
Okay.
Until when is the property under 61A?
Until
Town
it's,
council? Yeah, until it's not.
until it's not. So it remains in 61A until they withdraw it from 61A.
But we were told tonight that they are not going to renew it.
Right.
So when is that deadline? When is it no longer under 61A?
365 days after they withdraw.
Yeah.
A year? Okay.
They have to withdraw it, pay the back taxes.
And while there's a current P&S in place, can the town make another offer to the trustees?
The town has to respect the fact that there's a contractual relationship between the Fields and the Coopers. So the town, I don't think, can put itself in the position of trying to blow that offer up. The town can approach the Coopers to see if they would like to enter into an agreement in the event that they don't proceed with the Fields.
And a question I have, once the Cooper Farm is taken out of 61A, will the trustees still be asking for certain conditions, like open space, fields, etc.?
Ms. Gould?
I don't know what the trustees are going to do. I am, by the way, not a trustee of that farm property.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Hold on, sir, we got one. Brian, you already talked about, can I get?
Sorry, I thought you were
please?
going to have me.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jim. Jen Stack, 40 Bulkley Road. The Board of Selectmen tonight had only been asked to do one thing, and that was vote on the right of first refusal, which obviously is not the issue before the board anymore. But I just wanted to touch base on just one aspect of this that really troubles me, and that is the perception that was floating around before the Fields withdrew, or before Ms. Gould withdrew the request to waive, that if we didn't play ball, they would just do what they've just done, and that is withdraw the offer, pay the $15,000, wait the 365 days, and then just do whatever they wanted. And that really, really irks a lot of people in this town. They deny that this is a threat. I don't know how else to take it. But I think that it's really important to notice that in 7 days, over almost 400 people have signed a petition saying that they want this land conserved. And I think it falls strongly on the shoulders of the people elected sitting at the front of this room to act in accordance with the desires that have been stated so clearly and so loudly by your voters.
Okay, Jen, I'm going to interrupt you
Nope,
there too.
Jim,
Yes,
I'm
I
not
will.
done.
Yes, I will, because you're saying that we need to act on something that isn't before us.
I
We have no
understand.
bona fide offer.
I understand
We don't have
that.
no unbona fide offer at this point. So for you to say that comment is unjustified and it's not
I'm
right.
telling you not to blow off 400 people. Jim.
Well, have we,
Action
Jen?
to
We
take.
have it. And I'm not going to get into it with you. I think this board has done a great job opening it up so that everybody in town knew what was before us. If we just said no to them, no one would have known. That there was a no. I'm sorry?
I said that's a little disingenuous.
well-
It's very well known.
Well,
had
they
to
came
submit
before us with an unbona fide offer. We opened it up. We didn't have to do that. We did that because we wanted to hear from the town.
Okay, I have one more paragraph
Please.
to read. And I just want to say this is just for consideration. Even the Fields do eventually end up purchasing the property. A lot can happen in 365 days. As anyone who's ever been involved in a land deal knows, it's not done until it's done. And there's been a groundswell of support in favor of conserving this property, and that's opened up a broader conversation about recent and future development in this town. Many people are expressing a lot of displeasure with the recent growth in this town and the fact that it seems to be happening unchecked and with little thought or planning for the long-term impact on our schools, our public services, and our taxes. And I have to say that I wouldn't be surprised to come to the special town meeting warrant a movement or a proposal for a bylaw to put a moratorium on growth in this town until the master planning steering committee can come back to us with some results and findings.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Michael Sullivan, 11 Moran Street. Sorry. Mr. Chairman, I have a question that has to do with numbers, and it means addressing the folks who developed the petitions and other outreach on the use of the land. And I'm going to make sure I don't waste everyone's time. Is this appropriate, as far as you're concerned?
At this point, no, because there's really nothing there. I mean, if we agenda this, we'd love to hear what you have to say about the use of the land.
No, it more has to do with the definition of the town. The term has been used repeatedly. There's a groundswell of interest in, and I just want to ask the petitioners.
I'll be happy to speak after if that's more appropriate.
No, I'm asking, I've heard numbers no greater than 500. There are 6,000 registered voters in this town. And I am stunned as a newcomer of several years of how few people, not how many, but how few people have reacted one way or the other to this. This is hardly the town. This is a group of interested, passionate folks who feel very strongly, but this is not the town. So as a relative newcomer of a few years, I have to say I'm stunned that so few people present themselves in that way. And I think that the lack of respect shown for private property, the cornerstone of one of the cornerstones of this country, is shocking. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. I'll come right back to you.
Ruth Leibowitz, 14 Foster Street. I have a question relating to the practicality of what a number of people here would like to do. And that is, I'd like to ask you, how much money is there in the cell tower account, which was designated for land acquisition and has been accumulating money with payouts occasionally for acquiring a lot of good property? How much money is there
So
for the town to use? if it wanted to.
Is that your only question, ma'am?
Yes.
Okay, so I don't know if we have that right now. We weren't prepared for that. We were here for an open hearing for a specific proposal that was before us. If you could get an email to Mr. Bergman, I'd be more than happy, would be more than happy to get to that. That is now in the CPC. Anybody else?
Yes,
Okay.
may I just ask you
Yes, ma'am.
what you just mentioned? Has the status of the cell tower fund changed since it's gone into the CPP? Is it still dedicated to acquisition of land?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes, Brian.
Brian Tarlow, Section Lane. Earlier, Mr. Acosta mentioned me by name and then said misinformation. And just as you guys take offense to some things that are said, I'm going to take offense to that. You want to slam me, go right ahead. And just as you did...
Mr. Topbox, I was not slamming you. I was saying in general, I apologize if I said it after I said your name. It was not intended that way. My apologies.
Thank you. And I will take an apology.
All right. Mr. Barisano, then first let me get Mr. Finley here.
Rick Finley. As former chair of the Cooper Farm Preservation Committee, I did write the Cooper family trustees last week expressing my interest in helping them if the situation arises. The Cooper committee can reactivate itself if we reach that point. I just want you to know that the letter has gone out, and I've indicated to them that there is great support for preserving the farm, and I'm here for them.
Thank you, Rick. Excuse me? Oh, Mr. Barisano.
Thank you. Jim Barisano again. Two things. What I know about the Coopers at this point, I've been out of touch with them for a while, but Frank inherited the property. Frank passed away. He was a young man. He died prematurely of a heart attack. Dean and Daphne, Dean was Vince's only brother, and Daphne was the mother of Frank with Dean. I don't know that Daphne is still alive. Do you have to know her?
I'm not sure.
She was living down in the Washington, D.C. area.
She is.
So she just survived, and she must be one of the trustees now. No, she's not. That was just a bit of information I wanted to. I did have a question for our attorney. He said that something to the effect that we couldn't act on it. In other words, if there's let's say in round figures, a $2 million offer, if we were to offer $2,100,000, could we do that as a community, as a town? And why couldn't we? I mean, what's stopping us from putting an offer on?
So there's a contract between the Coopers and the Fields, to the best of our
And we have
understanding.
a first right of refusal, am I right?
We don't.
No, we don't.
Because there's not a valid, no, the town does not have a first right of refusal because the contract that was sent to us as part of the notice did not contain a bona fide offer. So we have we're not going to act on it because what they supplied wasn't right. That doesn't mean it's not a valid contract. And we don't have, no party has the right to interfere with someone else's contract. You have to respect the parties that are engaged in the contract. We can, however, make our interests known and let the Coopers know that if something were to happen to the current contract, that we're happy to be in second position.
So we have no rights at this point to purchase that property, is what you're saying? In other words, that you recognize that
We have
contract?
no rights that are different than anyone else. I suppose unless...
We've been undermined.
Yeah, we're just another party
Town
in
has been undermined.
the market. I wouldn't use those words.
I wouldn't
but
use those words either.
We don't have it, no, we don't have an additional, we don't have a super right. Our right is no different than anyone else's.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? All right, seeing none, I'd look for a motion to close the public hearing on the
Mr. Chairman.
program.
I have a question.
Go ahead there, Mr. George Sanders.
George Sanders, 670 Company Road. I would like to know what other properties in this town that is pending sale that may be under 61A or is selling to develop, to put houses in. And I'll just put this piece of information out. The town right now has 134 lots, 698.79 acres of land that has a value
almost $9.4 million that's off the payroll. So I would like to know how much other land in this town that's available, and I'd like to know if the town plan on going after any of that.
Mr. Sanders, great questions. If you can get an email to the Selectmen's office, we don't have the information right now.
Okay.
We just don't have it. If you get an email with it, we'd be happy to respond to
Okay.
it. Yes, ma'am, last one.
There's one in Town Road. I'm puzzled about P&S that hasn't been accepted. Why is that a contract, and why can't someone else say, I'll pay you more for it, and that would be okay?
Tom, same story.
So I guess we can't conflate the two situations that are going on. We've got two situations. One is Cooper's property is in the 61A program. The 61A program says that if you want to enter into a purchase and sale agreement to sell the property and have it come out of the Chapter 61 program, you first have to go to the town and give the town the right of first refusal, and they have 120 days to act on it, okay? So that's the process that was started, but was stopped because part of that process is a bona fide offer, and we all know we didn't get a bona fide offer. Remove that. There is still a purchase and sale agreement. There is still a buyer and a seller that have come to terms on the sale of the property. We also know that having the town have its right of first refusal is not the only way that the property can come out of the Chapter 61 program. The other way is for them to withdraw from the program, pay their rollback taxes, and wait a year. If they do that, it's out of the program, we don't have a right of first refusal, and the Coopers can sell to whoever they wish. Put under that, there's a contract in place. There's a buyer and a seller. I don't know if there's, I only know what I've been shown, but that contract could remain in place through that year. So we kind of are where we are. The town only has so many rights under this program. These aren't meant to be absolute rights for the town. The town has a first right of refusal if they want to use that process. If they don't, it's still private property owned by a private individual who can withdraw from this Chapter 61 program and do what they want with the land. So I think that's the best answer.
Is there anything that stops a town representative from contacting them and saying, we will pay you either the same as the fields or more than the fields?
In my opinion, the town needs to respect that a contract exists between a buyer and a seller. Just as if you were selling your house, you wouldn't want, or you were buying someone's house, you wouldn't want someone else coming in and saying, hey, I'll double their offer. You've reached a written agreement, so we need to make sure that we respect that. At the same time, we can certainly approach them and let them know that if something were to happen to the deal, we're happy to step in behind them.
All right, that's the last comment. Board members, any other discussion? I would look for a motion to close the public hearing on the Cooper Farm property. So moved. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Thank you all for coming. All right, the next order of business is to reopen and reconvene under the public hearing for a common particular license.
It's really shocking the way people speak to us.
Oh, it's terrible.
I can't
It's
believe it.
absolutely
We give our time, these people have come here with a
Terrible.
nice proposal, and that is not a representative of the town.
Yes,
You're
you
right.
can go.
That's not how my townspeople would act. It can't be, right.
Tom can go. Thank you, Town Council.
Thank you, Tom.
Good to see you. But come back.
Folks, you can have your discussion outside, please.
Heads up on that. Just jump out of the seat.
I can't believe it. I'm totally appalled.
It's terrible.
It really is.
Terrible.
the applicant's making their way forward.
Trying to.
Okay, now we got to think of something happy.
All right, here we go. We're reconvening under the public hearing for a common particular license for Mo's Southwest 607 Constitution Ave. We have representatives. I apologize for the delay. We had a previous public hearing. That was our third time meeting. We appreciate you waiting for us. Board members, questions?
And maybe yours will go just as long.
That's right. Mr. Bergman, any letters or anything?
Received no input.
Okay. I saw the fire chief. Is he still here?
Yeah, he's just closing the door so we can
Okay.
figure out what's going on.
Before I get to you guys, I want to... Chief? Both chiefs, actually. Any comments on this license issues?
No.
Okay. Chief?
None whatsoever.
Thank you very much. Board members?
I'd like to hear from them if possible.
Absolutely. Tell us who you are and what you're doing down in the Point.
Great. Danny Costa, I'm a managing partner at MDM Southwest. Looking to put our first Mo's restaurant here in Massachusetts, in Littleton, at the Point. I think Mark has some of the specifics, so talk about the restaurant.
Okay.
Yeah, we're really excited. It'll be about 3,100 square feet. Oh, Mark Page, I'm Danny's partner.
Okay.
And I'm the operator. Along with Willie.
Mo?
Yeah.
Haven't met him yet.
Yeah. Our expected opening date is October 1st.
Wow.
Well, it's 74 inside seats, 16 outside seats. This concept is fast casual Mexican, burritos, tacos, salads, bowls, quesadillas, really family orientated, a lot of family atmosphere, a little bit warmer than a place like Chipotle with, nicer, different colors and different things like that, very friendly atmosphere. Fast casual, where you order the menu board and kind of guide you down the line, and you pay at the end and kind of go sit down, grab your drink. Let's see what else.
Grab your soft drink, right?
Yes.
All right. There's no liquor license?
No.
I'm Lily. I'm the Director of Operations. I will be in charge of the store.
We'll employ about 35 people.
Right.
Great.
And we start recruiting soon, as soon as kind of the building starts to take shape and it looks like there's something there and people can go apply.
Why don't you tell the folks in town what storefront are you going to actually be in regards to the whole Point?
Yeah, we are, the newest building, we're the furthest on the right, so
Okay.
next to the paper store.
Gotcha.
So if you look at the Starbucks building, the building to the left, the
Yes.
first building in the corner, and then the
Exactly.
chop house.
So we'll have a little patio where
Nice.
where that big, retaining wall is.
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
You say this is the first in Massachusetts, where else?
It's the first that we're opening in
Okay,
Massachusetts.
you're
So we
opening.
bought
Okay.
we bought a territory in Massachusetts, in Maine, and this is our first store.
There is one in Chelmsford, right?
Yes, there's about 6. There's 600 Mo's across the country right now.
Right. So we have about a month to check out the other ones.
Yeah.
I'm sure yours is going to be the best.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Great.
Willie's in charge.
All right, board members, questions? Mr. Knox?
Do you always yell "Mo" when people walk in?
They do. They want to. It's funny because when we first bought the concept, I said the same question: do we have to do this? And I went to Atlanta. That's where they're based out of. And I went to the training, and you once you really kind of see it, it's just trying to create that energy and that warm feeling and a friendly atmosphere. It's a fun place, and that's that's the whole point of that. Welcome to Mo's when you walk in.
My other question, do any Mo's have alcohol? Is that something you're going to plan for the future? Or
There are some, quite frankly, none of us really even want to dabble into that right now. We really want to get to know the business. And statistically, they say that it really doesn't do a lot for their business. So, we've never been involved with alcohol and really didn't really want to deal with that.
Ms. Hebert, are you all done now, Mr. Knox?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Hebert?
Just a couple quick things. First, it's customary to bring the selectmen a sample of your menu when you come to these meetings. No, I'm only kidding. I'm totally kidding.
Ethics.
I am kind
Actually,
Sorry, John. Just joking.
she's talking actual.
Actual
Maria.
Oh, I know.
No,
I wish we could. He's not even on the floor yet.
No,
Come back on October 1st.
there'll be a ribbon cutting, I'm sure. No, but really excited to have you guys. I'm sure you've done your market research, and there's not a lot of Mexican around here, so it's great. And also, like a rather fast way to get, healthy food. I think that's awesome. So happy to see you. And just planting the seeds, I'm going to think about. There's a lot of local farms around here. If you wanted to source any food locally, we'd really, appreciate that.
Yes, I think we can do some of that.
Yeah.
So I'll contact the brand corporate and see if
That would be great.
do some produce and things like that, maybe during different seasons.
Absolutely. Yeah, we really do have some great food here, so.
Okay.
Thank you, though.
Good suggestion. Mr. Ravello?
What's the age, education demographic of your employees?
Yeah, it's a younger crowd.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
High school kids?
I
No,
know a little older, maybe.
yeah, the average from what we've seen in all of the restaurants that we've trained in and kind of been in is in the 30s.
Yeah.
Male and female, all
30s
different
old
walks of
people, huh?
life. What's that?
30 old people, huh?
Hey, people, what are you talking
He's got grandchildren that are 30.
I don't mean like teenagers.
All I'd ask is that as you begin the push,
Yeah.
is that you work very strongly to try and hire some folks from Littleton, please.
Oh, I'd love to.
They don't have a lot of excuses to be late, right?
That's the plan. When we do our grand opening also, what we do is we partner up with the local high school, and we'll be doing kind of a VIP night where we donate some money and proceeds that come from that night. So we want to partner with, we want to be local. and-
That's awesome.
And that's what we're going to do.
Thank you.
Thanks much.
You'll be contacted tomorrow by the high school.
Great, because I don't know who to call, actually.
Yes, please.
Yeah, we can give you phone
It's on my
numbers.
list.
We can give you phone numbers.
Mr. DeCoste?
The question I have is, you guys said you don't have experience with alcohol. What experience do you have in the restaurant industry?
Sure, if you want to talk about that.
Sure, we actually own Dunkin' Donuts franchises in Acton, Concord, and Maynard, Mass.
Okay.
And Lily's been a district manager for us for 6 years there, so she's transitioning over. So that's really our area of expertise.
Okay.
in that kind of
So customer
fast-
service, yeah, so you get it. Okay, good. That's really it. I wish you luck.
If you're doing, thank you.
All right, well, thank you. I want to welcome you too to the town. It's been many years where the point has started and developed, and we did overlay district, and people in town are very excited about the whole project. As Selectman Hebert said, there is a Littleton Business Association you might want to look into. Mr. Knox, Mr. Avella are members. Mr. Avella is also a proud member of the Rotary Club, so there's opportunity out there to get your name out, get your managers out, and meet other folks in town also. And I just want to reiterate what Selectman Hebert said. We got some great farmers around here, and if you can go local, please do. Please do.
Yeah, we have no freezers, so everything is fresh.
Right.
So
Fantastic.
that works great.
You can go take a right out of your
Really, walk there.
right out of your driveway, and you got some great farmers right down the road. So I'd really like to see that. And welcome.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Any other questions? All right, I'd look for a motion.
Move that the Board of Selectmen vote pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 140, subsection 6, to approve the application of MDM Southwest LLC, doing business as Mo's Southwest LLC, Danny Costa, manager, for a common particular license for premises at 607 Constitution Avenue, The Point, Littleton, Mass.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Congratulations.
Thank
We look
you.
forward to your opening in October.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Oh, great, thanks so much.
Oh,
I was looking for this.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hey, nice to meet
All right, so we're going to go back to 7C, the special town meeting.
7D, you could do.
7 Chief. I'm sorry, where's this chief? 7B, I'm sorry.
He was trying to put them on.
No, come on up, chief. Staffing vacancy review, fire department, one firefighter EMT position.
We just recently had one of the senior members resign and have now have that vacancy. That position is currently the swing position, so it's imperative that it be filled because that's the individual that has been filling the first vacancy out.
You can't backfill behind that?
He's been saving us a lot of overtime.
No, I know, but you can't back reappoint? I mean, it's just a shift in position, you can't...
It's overtime.
But what I'm saying is, can't you take another firefighter and just appoint him to the swing position? And then just fill a regular firefighter?
No, because, so each shift has 2 people on it.
Yeah.
And he's a day guy. So he's not on one of those shifts. So everybody is already working there 42 hours a week.
Okay.
And that one individual that works during the day,
Gotcha.
When somebody's off on vacation or there's an injury, he will transfer to that spot.
Okay.
So there is no other available candidate to
Put in a swing, gotcha,
Yeah.
okay. Bonnie?
Yes, he said it's not an addition to staff, it's just replacing existing staff. It's within budget. It has been budgeted for fiscal 16. It is benefit eligible. That's also been budgeted. So.
Very good. Board members, questions? Hearing none? Hearing none, I'd look for...
You said a senior member, so if we go up to a hire now, there may be some benefit to the town as far as reduced wages.
There could be a savings because the new individual will come in at a lower rate. However, in the interim, if there are shifts that need to be filled, they'd have to be filled at overtime. So the quicker we fill it, the more likely we would be to see some small savings.
That makes sense. Okay, thanks.
Any other questions?
No, sir.
Look for a motion.
Move that the Board of Selectmen vote to grant the fire chief's request under the staff and vacancy review policy to fill 1 full-time benefited firefighter EMT position.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
All right, our last agenda item is 7C, number 2, with regards to the special town meeting.
I guess run through the draft warrant quickly, that there are a number of articles that you'll be discussing in your next meeting. Some of them have been on the radar screen for a while, some have not. But I've put together a briefing packet which we can have go out to the affected boards and departments and along with the Finance Committee, who you'll be meeting with on September 14th. I will say there are 3 articles that you could safely vote to insert tonight, that they're sort of routine articles, and it would be in the motion that's brought forward that you can be making a policy judgment in the future. Specifically, we always put a bills of prior years article in, just in case we have one. That's proposed Article 1. We always put in an article to amend the current year's budget to make any adjustments that the Finance Department may bring forward between now and town meeting. That's proposed as Article 4. And in this case, there's an Article 5 funding collective bargaining agreement that we're still in negotiations with one of our unions, that if we reach agreement with that union by town meeting, that we would need to bring the matter of funding that first year of the contract to town meeting. So we typically would put in a placeholder article for that. Beyond that, there are a number of articles which we can be discussing on September 14th with the affected boards and departments. A couple of them deal with LCTV and so-called PEG access funds. That there is a proposed article to establish a so-called PEG access and cable-related fund. It's a new statute which we're recommending that you have town meeting vote to adopt. We've long had the practice that PEG funds, PEG stands for Public Education and Government. It's what we get from our 2 cable franchisees, and it's about $200,000 a year, which our practice has been to hold those funds specifically for LCTV use. The Department of Revenue says that if you want to continue to do that, you have to vote to accept a particular statute that allows you to do that. Otherwise, the funds get closed to the general fund and are treated as free cash. The LCTV Advisory Committee has voted to request that you insert the article. so we can invite them in. We're invited them in for the next meeting to discuss it. We've got 3 proposals in Article 3 for amending the revolving funds article. One is to increase the amount for that would fund the dog bylaw enforcement, to fund our intermunicipal agreement with Boxborough, increase it to what our current cost is, which is $17,000. Last year it cost us $12,000. We signed an increase to $17,000, and so we need to adjust the threshold amount in the article. Another request of LCTV is to establish, which we've talked about before, which is establishing a revolving fund so that we can accept the funds that we get from Boxborough for providing that town with LCTV services. The way to make sure that that money goes back towards the department that's providing the services, we are told, is to set up a revolving fund. Lastly, in this article, the Conservation Commission has asked that you set up a revolving fund to allow them to use the funds that the fees that they charge for community gardens on their properties to be used back for those properties. Conservation Commission will be coming to our next meeting to talk about that. The Personnel Bylaw Amendments, Article 6, the Personnel Board will very likely be bringing forward a series of requests to increase by 2% all of those salary schedules that we haven't yet adjusted this year. The Personnel Board voted at its last meeting to do that for Schedule D on-call fire department employees. There are a few other salary schedules we have not amended yet this year, but we didn't want to be forgetting those other schedules. And so the Personnel Board would like to come and meet with the Selectmen on September 14th to talk about that. Another item which we may want to pursue, it's in Article 7, one of the recent amendments to the financial policies was to refer to a debt exclusion stabilization fund. If you want to set one up, it requires a town meeting vote. You can set it up either at this special town meeting now, or you could do it in May. But it seemed like, since it was on our radar screen, it seemed like an appropriate topic to discuss with the Finance Committee when they're here at our next meeting. Article 8, we may or may not have additional funds or additional cause for spending funds on capital items. Typically, we have brought to a fall town meeting an article like this, and if we've had available funds, we bring it forward. Available funds are not as available this year. Typically, we've used unused snow and ice account funds at a fall town meeting. We used them all, and then some. Article 9 suggests appropriations into the Blended Community Preservation Act Fund. The Board of Selectmen and the Finance Committee and the Community Preservation Committee jointly adopted a policy that says we'll go through a process to see if any funds get added, any additional local funds get added to the CPA fund. You can do that either at the fall town meeting or in May, but it seemed like it might be appropriate to just talk about what our approach is. We have not met with the Finance Committee or CPC in a while, so we're inviting them into the next meeting. Next item in this draft, simply as a placeholder, if there was a policy decision on acquiring Cooper Farm, that would require a town meeting vote. And that discussion is now being put off for a future discussion by this board, so I think we can go on to the next item. The Council on Aging has voted to request a couple of articles. One of them is to establish a so-called Aid to Elderly and Disabled Taxation Fund. There's a special act, there's a portion of the general law you can accept to establish a fund for the purpose of defraying real estate taxes of elderly and disabled persons. If you accept the statute, which a number of communities have done, You must also set up a committee to administer how the fund is used. So the COA would like to propose that, and they can come and talk to us about it. The COA has also asked that that its membership be reduced from 11 to 9 members. They are at 9 members now. They are constituted at 11 per the town bylaw. They've made the suggestion to reduce their membership, and so they'd like to come in and talk to you about that. And the last item on this draft, and one which may or may not require action by this town meeting, we're still reviewing it, but just put it on the radar screen, the whole subject of discharges to municipal storm drains, sewers, stormwater management. There's a looming in the near future. EPA is looking at issuing a new permit that will affect many communities, including ours and many nearby communities, which will have significant additional reporting and inspection requirements associated with stormwater. And we need to start getting our head around that soon to see how we would approach it. My particular suggestion is that we convene the boards that would have a piece of that. And so you've invited the Water Commissioners, Board of Health, Planning Board to come and talk about that item. We may need to adopt some regulations in the meantime, and it's possible that we may need to amend our town bylaws. Town council is reviewing that right now. But for the future, this will be a much more complicated area than it's ever been. Some communities are establishing separate funding sources and fee structures to take in the funds that are necessary to administer the stormwater. So it's something we need to get our head around, and a good starting point would be to bring the affected boards together and talk about how we're going to do it as a group.
That's it. Thank you. Board members, any issues with inserting the articles? 1, bills of prior year. 4, fiscal year 2016 budget amendments. And 5, collective bargaining agreement. Pretty basic stuff. Look for a motion.
Move that the Board of Selectmen vote to insert the following articles onto the warrant for November 2nd, 2015 special town meeting, subject to approval as to form by town council. Article 1, bills of prior years. Article 4, FY16 budget amendments. And Article 5, fund collective bargaining agreement.
Second. Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. It's a wrap.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Have a great night.